Okay, I'll admit it. I screwed up. Looking at that stupid book was the worst thing I've ever done. Wherever I look, all I see is its bone mask. Why did I look at that damn book? I guess I'll tell you from the beginning. It all started on Saturday, 9 a.m. I had just gotten up and drawn the blinds to let some sunlight into my apartment. When my phone rang, it was my stepsister, Phoebe. She asked me to go shopping with her. Whenever we go shopping, all we do is look at shoes and clothes, but she means well, so I accepted. That was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. By noon, we were in the mall searching for the nearest shoe store. I wanted to get some cash out of the nearby ATM. She told me to meet her at a cafe in a half an hour, and I agreed. It took me a minute to get to an ATM. While I withdrew some cash, a bookstore caught my eye. I remembered that Phoebe loved books and decided to get a quick gift for her. Now I've been in psych wards and mental hospitals where nurses have committed suicide and thought nothing of it. But this store was just strange. The light bulbs didn't produce nearly enough light and flickered constantly. There were no employees that I could see. As I looked around the store, a book drew my attention. A hardcover book stood on a small pedestal in the corner of the room, and for some reason, I couldn't take my eye off of it. I was completely hypnotized by it. My instincts told me to leave, but I just couldn't. It was like that book became the absolute climax of my life, and I just couldn't turn away. As I got closer, I could make out the shape of the deep maroon handprint on the cover. I towered over the book, filled with a sense of anticipation. I laid my hand on the cover and opened it. The title made my hands tremble. Frike. I remembered that story. Phoebe told me about it. Frike was the Greek goddess of horror. But that was in mythology, and nothing like that existed in real life, right? I turned a page and saw the words, Discrindir Nunc. I was almost sure that it was Latin, but I couldn't understand it, so I kept flipping through pages until I saw another handprint, similar to the one on the cover. I took no notice, only wanting the words. I couldn't understand any of it. It was all in Latin. I suddenly had an urge to read this aloud. I remember reading, Magnus Frike, Sacrificium meum es hic q haec legerit. I quickly closed the book. I remember staring at the handprint and wondering for a second, is that blood? It couldn't be. I don't know why I did this, but I placed my hand on the pattern. As I smoothed my hand over the cold, dusty leather, I felt my hand burning for a split second. I jutted my hand back, only to see blood running down my palm, and onto it, my plaid shirt. I turned and ran out of the store, low whispers in my ears.
Mort Morius. Mort Morius.
I ran back to the cafe, my heart pounding every step. I saw Phoebe with an angry expression on her face, pointing to her watch. I sat down, panting rapidly. Where have you been? Gathering my thoughts, I said the first thing that popped into my mind. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? She said. You know what? Forget it. Something weird just happened. She went on to tell me that she had been called on her phone by someone that she didn't know, saying that she had been cursed. I told her that it was probably one of those psychos I worked with in the past, although I knew better. She agreed. We left within the hour, unknowing that the next few weeks would determine my fate. 2 weeks later, strange things started to happen. Every now and then, I would hear the words,
Mort Morius. Mort Morius.
I looked them up on the internet to see what they meant. Only one thing came up. You're dead. No, this didn't mean anything. I was not going to die. This was stupid. I must be imagining things. I kept telling myself this, only postponing the inevitable. The same week, I kept seeing things out of the corner of my eye, but it disappeared if I tried to get a better look. Whenever I blinked, I saw a mask. It looked malevolent and somewhat like the skull of a deer. I went to a psychiatrist. They didn't help. I truly thought I was going mad. These things eventually subsided until later that week. I had terrible nightmares of a creature wearing a bone mask, chasing me into a dark forest. I hid behind some trees and stones, but it found me time and time again. All the time repeating the wailing noise, screeching the name.
Frike! Frike! Frike!
Each word getting more violent as it closed in on me. I always awoke, screaming with terror, just after it disemboweled me. I went back to the psychiatrist, but nobody helped me, not even my sister. I searched the internet again. Frike was the goddess of fear, horror, yes, blah blah blah. I kept searching until I came across a page. The page said that Circe, the Greek witch, freed the living entity of Frike from the pits of the underworld to gain untold power, thus allowing her to rule as she pleased. But something went wrong. Circe's evil heart turned Frike into a demon, just as Circe wanted. She would then rob Frike of all her power. But Circe's bone mask, the source of her power, fell off during the ritual, making her magic obsolete. Frike stole Circe's mask and escaped into a nearby forest. Frike would have to kill anything in the forest to survive. One day, a Roman scholar wandered into the forest and was mortally wounded by Frike, who offered her sacrifices in exchange for his life. Frike accepted. The scholar returned to Rome and made a book, writing inside that whoever reads the words would be sacrificed. No! That didn't happen. I was very familiar with Circe's mythology stories, and that never happened. And I was not going to die. This was just a chain post sent by some stupid loser with no life. This is what I tell myself, for I will sleep soon. But this time I'm not sure if I will awake. Hopefully Frike has some mercy at least. This was all just because of curiosity. Well, good night.